Hello, welcome back to ArcheTAP, where each week we talk about, tap about, and meditate on a different archetype. And this week we are doing the Emperor from the Tarot deck, number 4. So I love reading this quote at the beginning of class, just to define an archetype and what we're doing here today. As defined by Richard Rudd, it is a compressed idea containing many dimensions of meaning, imagery, and feeling. Archetypes resonate with deep universal themes in the unconscious of all human beings, regardless of race, genetics, or conditioning. When you continuously contemplate and identify with a particular archetype, it has the capacity to transform your state of consciousness from a low frequency to a high frequency. So it is to the benefit of us all that we meet here each week. All right. So I accidentally printed a very big one. And I was shocked at really how well it turned out. So yeah, we're working on the Emperor. I'm going to hold up these smaller ones though, because the Rider weight or the universal weight, I'm a little confused on which one I have actually. Definitely has a little bit different imagery going on, not tons, and we'll get into that difference there in just a moment. So the Emperor, if you're born in April, your inner essence is the Emperor, which means that this is your inner childlike nature. This is your inner true nature. It provides you with some insight into your secret powers that you have to offer this world. And then if you have a life path number 4, this archetype symbolizes your ego. It's a part of you that you most likely identified with up until about age 40 or so. And then hopefully we evolve into a more positive, I didn't say that very neatly. Okay. It's just the earlier part of your life, and we evolve. We hope we evolve, is what I was trying to say. The Emperor is the master of the material realm. He's the benevolent leader. He seems calm, even just from the mood that you get from the card itself. And he's got complete dominion over his empire. He's good at creating structures and stability for the benefit of everyone, and whether that's within his family, whether that's within culture and society, if it's business oriented or family oriented, doesn't matter. They're the leader of the empire, and they're creating structure for everyone else so that they can be free. So it's for the benefit of all. So he is in a sitting position in both of these. This one he's sitting straight on. This one he's sitting to the side a little bit. In both of them, he's looking off to the side. In this one, his legs are crossed though, which definitely indicates like a certain amount of poise, his responsibility for others. He can't make rash decisions. He's always got to think and consider the consequences of everything before he acts. The Emperor archetype has tremendous physical power along with intellectual power. He's very much in his body. And really has a pretty compelling kind of beauty to him, even though it's a masculine form, I would still call it beautiful. And that reinforces the power to others. So you know people with this archetype too, of like the powerful people that are awake, that you meet in life that you're just drawn to, most likely have this archetype within their architecture, I guess is the word. He has such an effect on other people that he's really got to remember his role, because it is to facilitate for everyone else. Even though he's a lot about power and control, it's it's again for the benefit of others directly. So he's all about action, he's all about power and about mastering that, not only his body but also the world around him through intention and really focused discipline. It is important that he master all these aspects of the world from the ground up, that he be ready to literally put his hands in the dirt if he needs to, so that he can create a really strong foundation. And it allows him to rule the empire, but it's really stable and it's benevolent. If he remains too aloof, he does tend to become a dictator. A tyrant that's focused only on power and control over others rather than achieving self-mastery. I think if we broke him down into 3 parts, it would be, for sure, power and control would be the first one. The second one is there's no wiggle room. He's rigid. And then the third part is he's sovereign. He knows himself well, and he doesn't take authority from anybody else. Excuse me. So perfectionism can be a major pitfall for this archetype, particularly if it gets directed back at yourself. It's sometimes difficult for him to really love himself and accept his flaws and accept his weaknesses. And that has a tendency to become more and more rigid, both physically and mentally. He can tend to be a controlling dictator, demanding perfection from everyone around him, which feels shitty. So let's break the card down just a little bit more, and let's go with the more universal ones. So for sure, the thing that I noticed first are like the ram's heads. So this card is April, which is the 4th month. It's ruled by Aries. It's a fiery energy in general. He's got this, what is most likely a golden apple of some sort in his left hand, or a sphere of some kind with a cap on the top. And it's the orb that represents the whole world, basically, that he's holding it in his hands. And then in his right hand is this Ankh staff, which is the Egyptian symbol for life. He's sitting on a throne, and this one, it's much more rigid than the Empress. Like the Empress last week was like sitting off to the side. She's like in a relaxed position. Like he's not. He is looking at something and he's facing forward. In the Universal Tarot, it's symbolized that the gray is like his impartiality to anything. He can't be, his court isn't going to draw him one way or another. This is like the world compass. His throne is sort of like the world's compass. Then he's got a mountain range behind him, which I think is a juxtaposition too between the Empress last week having all that like lush foliage and like this kind of craggy, reminding us of like tough challenges, things that he can overcome through discipline, through power and control. It makes him seem immovable, like a mountain. There's a little river running down at the very bottom, which is a nice juxtaposition against that mountain range as well. In the contrast to the mountains, it provides hope for growth because water can move its way into anything. And then, yeah, the red. This card is basically red, really, in general. His red robe, the orangey red background is just like all that fiery masculine energy of Aries. So when he is in his optimal state, some of the traits that you might describe him as would be structured, loyal. He's blunt. He's honest. He's very sincere. What else? Courageous, bold, disciplined, a visionary for the future, can put the whole thing together to create a society or to create a strong family structure. So if he's exalted, if he's upright in a reading, he's full of vision, full of vigor and equality, and he wants to create this empire and then lead people to like have a better life, to feel stable, to feel protected by him. The emperor is a building practically. And though he's sitting, he's in action in his head, even though you can't see it. So he's always constructing something for the future. Maybe it's a family project. Maybe it's a company thing. When this archetype is around, you gain the benefit that you gain by being around this archetype is you're able to communicate better. You gain greater ability to materialize your visions and your ideas. And your vision is supported by the people around you. I think that this is a really important aspect of it, that in doing my research over the last few days for this class doesn't get picked up on as much, of that the two need each other. Like the emperor, yes, is a power and authority figure, but he very much needs his people to, they work together. And so this archetype suggests that you have leadership skills that need to be activated and used. It's definitely the masculine power of the body. You're like enamored with what the body can do physically. He represents stability and reason. And there's a sense in this of needing a partner to rule with. So it's the Empress and the Emperor, right? So due to this, when this archetype comes up in a reading or something like that, it often means like you need to ask for help from your people, that you're providing for or whatever. So detriment aspects to this card might be inflexible, very rigid, very authoritarian or domineering, can be stubborn, fearful, undisciplined, impulsive. So when it shows up reversed in its detriment, it's definitely the heavier aspects. It could be reminding you that you're lacking energy in some way, or where are you lacking energy that might help you provide for your goals in life? Are you being too hard on yourself? Are you being too hard on other people? That's going to come up in the meditation later, which I'm so excited about. Are you disciplined around the physical? Often the emperor and his detriment is looking for perfection. So when we look for perfection, it's an easy way to get stuck, because it's hard to make a decision often. And so we run into a mind game that just the wheels spin and spin and spin, but we can't really we don't trust ourselves enough to act on anything and make a decision. So we just become inactive and just sort of stuck in the mind, unable to progress. He's sitting on his throne and he's reflecting on strategy, but it's a cooperative. If he has no one to rule, then what's the point, So he's got to ask for help, or perhaps he's just being too demanding of the people around him. He's dissatisfied. He wants to change, but perhaps is trying to exude more control over the lives of others than he is over his own life. If that kind of projection thing starts to happen when this archetype gets distorted in that way. So let's tap about it a little bit. I am mostly in this tapping focusing on the power control aspects of this card, because I think it's my opinion that it's a sticky area. It's a sticky area for all of us, regardless of whether this card shows up in your chart or not. How do we regain inner authority? How do we learn to trust ourselves again? You know, if most likely our legs got cut out from underneath us in childhood and it was accidental, but we quit trusting ourselves. And so then we look to something outside of us for the answers to things. So I really wanted it to come back and for us to remember how powerful we are. That I think I even say this later on, you know, that there's this meme that floated around for several years, and it's a drawing of a light switch, and a hand is, you know, reaching to the light switch to flick the switch, and it says, why don't you just turn your magic all the way the fuck on? And I loved it. I think I shared it. It's probably in my Instagram somewhere, and it's really been dawning on me lately how untrue that is. That it's always on. It's always on. It was never off. We just have layers on top of us that prevent us from seeing it and prevent us from, and so what we're here doing now is just like taking the fucking layers of bullshit off that, you know, the world accidentally put on us, that, like Gary said in that class of 2 weeks ago, you know, we forgot who we were. We don't even know who we are and how we really work in this world. So that's my soapbox. Okay. Sitting up nice and tall. I'm going to take a sip of tea. Just get started tapping on the side of the hand. Take a big deep breath in and let it go. And repeat after me. I feel a lack of control in my life. So I became more rigid in my thinking. I was looking for perfection. Stuck in my mind. Unable to make progress. I'm dissatisfied with the way things are. And I want to change. I want to embody the qualities of the Emperor archetype. And I acknowledge that I sometimes lack discipline. I overthink and I don't take action. I am choosing to release those doubts and fears. So even though I have struggled with my inner authority and maintaining control in my life, I deeply and completely accept myself. And I am ready to embrace the Emperor within. Okay. Take another big deep breath, another sip of water if you want to. Pardon. We'll meet on the top of the head. I recognize my need for control. And I recognize my desire to trust myself. I have experienced moments of extreme self-doubt. I want to release all my doubts and insecurities. I am choosing to embrace my inner emperor. And I release any resistance to my own inner authority. I choose to establish discipline in my life and call it fun. I release any fears around losing control. I am worthy of leadership. I am worthy of authority. I release the need for external validation. I'm ready to step into my power. When I make a decision, I make it quick without overthinking. No hesitation. Just complete trust in my abilities. And I'm so sorry. I am choosing to release any past experiences that have made me doubt myself. I am the emperor of my own life. I am choosing to embrace my power. I am choosing to embrace my authority. I trust myself to know if I need to ask for help, I will. I'm not going to let pride or ego stop me. And oftentimes, if it stops me in reverse. Which is the self-worth stuff that I'm working on. So I'm choosing today to release all the layers of conditioning, things other people taught me, about who to trust. And I recognize that I can have this mastery for myself. This deep trust. So once again, I am choosing to embrace my power. And so it is. Okay. Take another deep breath or two. So as we're releasing this, if anything specific, pardon me, comes up, just kind of make a mental note to remember it for this part. Sitting up nice and tall. If you're sitting in a chair, have both feet on the floor. Have your head on top of your shoulders and your shoulders on top of your hips. Let your eyelids go heavy. So hopefully what we learn through this meditation is that we don't have to disassemble ourselves and remake ourselves into the image of God. We are already the perfect image. So our function is to arise and come to our true capital S self. And in this rising up of consciousness is what allows us to understand this, really. Our magic was always on. Our power was always there. So now it is our job to get rid of anything that is blocking us from living to our true potential. Do a quick little body scan, looking for any places that might be holding tension. Ask those places to relax, especially check in with the jaw, the shoulders. Then find yourself standing in a very serene, beautiful garden. The air is filled with a sense of tranquility. The world around you is really vibrant. Keep noticing the colors of everything. It was possible for there to be new colors. You're seeing them right now. The flowers, the trees, the very ground beneath your feet seems to radiate with a really unique energy. You start to walk down a garden path. As you walk along, you notice in the center of the garden this narrow, shimmering door. And it's leading to a secret place. It's unlike any door you've seen before. It's like it's made of pure light. And it's sort of beckoning you towards it. So you approach the doorway. You feel this warmth and energy emanating from it. But before we can enter, we have a little work to do. Say quietly or out loud, ask the holy fire of spirit to burn away any impurities. And now imagine that you can see this fire right in front of you. It's kind of in between you and the door. And you understand that to go through the doorway, you've got to burn off all the bullshit that doesn't serve you anymore. You can't take it with you into your new life. So you reach deeply into your mind and your heart, and you bring forth every feeling of guilt that you've ever experienced, and you cast it on the fire. Just imagine you're able to pull it out of yourself, continuing until every last remnant of that stupid, insidious emotion is turned to ash. When you burned all of your guilt, we move to fear. Let every insane scenario that your mind can produce be released to the love of God, dissolved and rewritten by the universe, and then throw it in the fire. After all your fears have burned away, call light to yourself, the light of remembrance. Remind yourself of the truth of all of your glory. Take any threads that your ego has spun and throw them on the fire. Search your mind and your body for all whom you've considered less than or least in consciousness. People that have been difficult to forgive. Everyone you've ever judged. Take those threads and throw them on the fire. In your final act, take all the truth that you know, throw it on the fire. Now know, deep within you, a shift in your mind and your heart has taken place tonight. Quietly or out loud, say, I relax and entrust my spirit to your care. As you surrender, the door opens and the fire goes out. This is the doorway to the fourth dimension. And there in front of you is the Emperor, the angel of power and authority. An angel worth knowing. An angel worth loving and respecting. You might consider reminding him to strengthen your resolve, to stay firmly on your spiritual path, and to alert you if spiritual pride begins to develop in your lower parts of your consciousness. Remind yourself too that this is the angel to call on for enthusiastic action. He can propel you forward to achieve even the most impossible dreams. Now ask him what you can do to help maintain control of your ego. Just listen to what he has to say. Stay as long as you like. When you are ready to return, simply visualize that narrow, shimmering doorway once more. Walk back through it, bringing with you the knowledge that you've gained, and hopefully the lightness with which you have released all the BS. When you are ready, you'll open your eyes, feeling refreshed and enlightened by your experience. There's no rush. Stay as long as you like.